And a very good morning to you. This is the Talk of the Town. Our guest this morning is Mr. Dhananath Fernando. Jolly good fellow he is, knows all about finance. So good morning to you,
Good morning,
Dhananath.
Faraz.
Now then, everyone's talking finance these days, and there's something called this domestic debt restructuring, DDR. Is it such a bad word? Is it good, bad, or ugly for the country?
Depending on the context for us, with how we have managed our finance, of course, none of the debt restructuring is good. But given the journey that we have come so far, I think it is unavoidable to ignore that three-letter word or three-letter abbreviation DDR. So I think we have to go ahead with it. What is the composition of the DDR is what is in question.
When we're talking about it, don't you think that Sri Lanka as a whole has had its own domestic debt restructuring in a way? We've had enough of haircuts also in a way. We've had rising interest rates. We've had an awful exchange rate where from 200, the dollar went up to 370 rupees. We've had the cost of living increases and so on. So don't you think that the people, the whole country has had its own haircut, if you like, in terms of finance?
Absolutely, Faraz. Already, in my view, the domestic debt has been restructured, mainly as because of inflation. It's slightly coming down, but inflation coming down doesn't mean the prices are going to come down. It is the rate that the prices are increasing is only coming down. So already to an extent, not to an extent, to a great extent, our domestic debt has been restructured through inflation. Now the discussion is whether that is enough, and we have to do a further restructuring on top of the restructuring that has happened over inflation is the conversation now. So how I see it is mainly from the directions that we have received so far from the central bank or with their public announcements, they have said that they are going to restructure the domestic debt which is within the central bank, and they are in discussions with whether they are going to restructure the debt holding by the commercial banks or any other mechanism is what they are going to discuss about. So that's where it is. But I completely agree with you. Already the debt has been to a large extent has been restructured with the high inflation.
So, I mean, if we look at the three state banks, there's about 6.6 thousand billion but that's obviously bonds and bills. So if you go for a haircut of say 30%, isn't that going to cause complete chaos? Won't they have to close the state banks down then?
How I see it, for us in restructuring, there are multiple options. Of course, if we go for a haircut, it would be very challenging. But there are three other options as well. One is the haircut, which basically we are reducing the principal amount. The second is the changing the interest rate or the coupon clipping. And third one is the extending the maturity. And the fourth one is a combination of all three or issuing a new instrument instead of the existing instrument, a combination of all three. So my forecast is the government will not go for a haircut. They will probably go for a maturity extension. Coupon clipping, I'm doubtful, because when we look at the statistics for the financial sector, mainly for the banks, overall banks, it's not only the state banks, including the other private commercial banks, from their interest income, about 30%, about 36%, 30 to 40% is coming from the interest which has been invested in the treasury bills and treasury bonds. So in that case, I don't also expect a coupon clipping as well, because if you go for a coupon clipping, that will impact the interest revenue of the banking system. And as you very correctly said, if you go for a haircut, that will also add a lot of stress on the banking balance sheets, and it would pretty much go in the wrong direction. So my expectation is most likely they will go for a maturity extension, is my expectation, with restructuring of the treasury bills holding by the central bank. That's how I see it.
If we were to put it all into easy comprehension, what exactly is a haircut? What is it? Could you tell us very simply?
Yes. So Faraz, just imagine I borrowed 1,000 rupees from Faraz, agreeing to pay 10% interest rate. and to pay back in 10 years. 10%, 10 years at 10% interest rate, 10 years, 1,000 rupees. Haircut is I come to Faraz and say, Faraz, look, I borrowed 1,000 rupees, but I can't pay you 1,000 rupees. I can only pay you 500 rupees. So that's the haircut for Faraz of 500 rupees, or 50% haircut from the initial amount. That's what we call a haircut. Coupon clipping is I come to Faraz and say, Faraz, look, I borrowed 1,000 rupees at 10% interest rate. I'm sorry, I can't pay 10%. Can we renegotiate the interest rate for 5% or 2%? That's called a coupon clipping. The third one is I borrowed 1,000 rupees, 10% to repay back in 10 years. So I say, Faraz, look, I can't pay you back in 10 years. Can we extend it to pay it in 20 years? But I will pay you the interest rate of 10% for that additional 10 years. The fourth one is the combination of all that. I say, Faraz, I can pay only 750 rupees, not 10% interest rate, maybe about 7% interest rate. I will pay you back in 15 years, not in 10 years. So that's the combination of all four. So the haircut is basically borrowed 1,000 rupees, but I'm coming back and saying, look, I can't pay 1,000 rupees. I can only pay 500 rupees.
Right. But in your estimation, we are going to have to do one of these 3 or 4 things. Is that inevitable?
In my view, for us, it is the domestic debt restructuring is inevitable. Again, we have to wait for the government's announcement. But how I see it is my prediction or my forecast is most likely they will go for a maturity extension, not for a haircut.
Right.
Only on the domestic debt restructuring. They might have to go for a haircut on the international sovereign bonds and for external creditors.
Thank you very much, Dhananath Fernando, and wishing you all a very good day, of course. But thank you, Dhananath. Looking forward to having you on our network again.
Thank you very much, Faraz. Have a good day.
Thank you. And that's the way it was on the Talk of the Town. It's now back to the studio with Dom and Asanka. Thank you.